Hello everyone and welcome to my Retro Mini Room. Today we're taking a look at 5 classic Xbox 360 games that look and play better than ever on Xbox Series X through backwards compatibility, so they're worth either revisiting or playing for the first time in 2024. We're going to take a look at gameplay, do some unboxing, I'll give you my thoughts and opinions, and we'll have some fun. If you like this sort of content, please hit that subscribe button and a notification bell to keep up with my latest videos. Please hit the like button to help me out with the algorithm, and please comment on the video. Let me know what future games you want to see or ideas. Let me know how much you love these games. I'm all about memories and nostalgia here. And we'll get started. And the first game we're taking a look at is Condemned Criminal Origins, developed by Monolith Productions and released by Sega. So I actually have quite a bit of nostalgia with Condemned Criminal Origins. I haven't played it in a while. I've always really liked this game. So this was a launch title in the Xbox 360. It was an early impressive title for the hardware. And I was fortunate enough that I had an Xbox 360 from launch day. So this is one of the first games I played, and it was one of the first games to really blow my mind at the time. Visually, this game holds up really well. The frame rate and resolution is better here through backwards compatibility, so it's a smoother experience. Photorealistic textures, awesome lighting effects. The character models are a little bit dated, but they get the job done. What's also interesting about this, to this day, other than PC, this is an Xbox 360 exclusive game. So where the 360 or just Xbox in general kind of lacks in exclusives, this is actually one of the few. If you're a fan of Silence of the Lambs and Seven, you're going to really get a kick out of the atmosphere and story themes here because this is heavily influenced by those. Although it's hyper-fictionalized, if you like forensics and CSI, well, to be fair, that's fictionalized too. But if you like stuff like that and you enjoy crime scenes and forensics and things of that nature, they use forensics as a mechanic to move through the story. It's pretty cool. So that's there if you appreciate that kind of stuff. The voice acting here is really good. The atmosphere is absolutely fantastic. Really, really high level atmosphere and sound effects and ambience. But where the game truly excels, other than all these obvious things like visuals, atmosphere, and story and style, is the combat. Visceral, hard-hitting, gruesome, hand-to-hand combat. Yes, there are guns in the game, but you have extremely limited ammo, so you're not going to want to rely on that. You use them when you can, but they're not the bread and butter here. I love going around and figuring out which weapons I prefer, whether it be heavier pipes, lighter pipes, if you like sledgehammers, axes, eventually rebar with cement on them, my personal favorite. You can literally see the teeth flying with some of the visceralness in this game. Like Manhunt before it, back on the PlayStation 2 and Xbox, this game immerses you in this dark, twisted world. It's easy to get lost in. The atmosphere is fantastic. This is really a survival horror game. But the story is interesting enough where it really keeps you engaged and keeps you going. You want to see what's next. You want to unravel the mystery, what's going on. And you have a lot of fun doing it. The game has a good pace of figuring out where to go next. It doesn't bog you down too much. The forensics thing is neat. Sometimes you can be like, wait, what do I need to do next? Wait, this forensic thing that leads to this thing. And you have psychic abilities, so you see visions of where the enemy is or what they're doing. So there's a lot of mystery there, some supernatural elements to it as well. But I've always loved Condemned Criminal Origins. I really, even though it was critically praised for its time, it always seems a little bit underrated to me. There is a sequel, and that actually was where it went multi-platform. Maybe I'll cover that on the channel sometime, because that's also a very good game. But I've always really liked Condemned Criminal Origins. Like I said, it has a lot of nostalgia for me, because this blew me away when I first played it as a launch title on the Xbox 360. So this was, treading new territory for the next generation at the time. And boy, it still holds up really well. The environments are beautiful. Atmosphere is insane. I still enjoy the combat. I'm actually enjoying playing this again. So yeah, Condemned Criminal Origins, highly recommended. And up next, we have Fallout New Vegas, developed by Obsidian and released by Bethesda Softworks. Whether you're a veteran Bethesda player or a newcomer, you really owe it to yourself to have an Xbox Series X in order to be able to play these various Bethesda games through backwards compatibility. In the case of New Vegas, you have better draw distances, better resolution, double the frame rate through FPS boost mode, lightning fast load times. This plays better than ever on consoles through backwards compatibility. Amongst many Fallout fans, New Vegas is a common favorite. In a lot of ways, it was an improvement over Fallout 3. But what's also interesting is the fact that it wasn't developed by Bethesda. It was developed by Obsidian, who had famously developed Knights of the Old Republic 2 before it, which was also excellent. So this is one of the best titles Obsidian has ever done. The gunplay was improved over 3. The visual variety was upped a little bit. Some of the general mechanics and quality of life improvements are pretty much across the board compared to Fallout 3. Me personally, I like the story in Fallout 3 a little bit better, but the story here is very good. You start off as a courier that gets taken out by some mobsters. You don't know who they are, what their motivations are. So you have to unravel the mystery as to why they wanted to kill you, what the mysterious package was you were trying to deliver, and why. As per usual within Fallout, it's pretty much just you, your gun, unleashed on the world, in this case, the Mojave Desert. You meet characters along the way, you fulfill side quests and main quests, trying to figure out the story of what's going on, upgrading your character, finding new weapons, and the weapon variety and detail is better than 3 here. There's weapon and armor degradation, but you get used to that. While the gunplay is overall pretty solid, it's a little bit aged for those that aren't used to it for the time, but the VAT system helps with that quite a bit. The VAT system slows down time, allowing you to select individual body parts, giving you different percentages of probability to hit, and that's really what you want to use to take out your targets as much as you can. And the beauty of Bethesda games is how open-ended it is. Like Deus Ex, you're able to make your character into whatever you want to be, whether it be a stealthy character, guns blazing, whatever the case, you're able to do that at your leisure. So if you like a game that's open-ended with a lot of depth, you're going to get that in spades here. What I like about Fallout and what I like about New Vegas is it has a bit of a Wild West feel to it. You're kind of just a lone gunman moving through the world and going from situation to situation, figuring out what's going on and what to do. So because of all that, it's easy to get lost in this world. Half an hour turns into 4 hours, you name it. Bethesda games are very engrossing, and this is no different. I've always really liked New Vegas. It was one of the earlier Fallouts I ever beat. Of course, I have a slipcase here. This is the original slipcase, the launch version of the game. And then I got the Ultimate Edition, which has all the DLC with it. Aside from all the extra goodies you get from the game, I haven't played the DLC enough. That's actually why I want to beat this again, because I want to play all the DLC and experience everything the game has to offer. But you get a canteen that you automatically drink from, so that you're able to quench your thirst automatically. So for me, because I don't really like the hardcore Survivor stuff, I really appreciate that. And of course, the iconic armor. This, of course, there's Brotherhood of Steel. There's the Legion. So there's all these different factions of characters, and so there's a living, breathing world here, which, like I said, is typical Bethesda. So if you love Bethesda games, or you love living, breathing, open-ended worlds, you can't go wrong with Fallout New Vegas. Next, we have Enslaved Odyssey to the West, developed by Ninja Theory and released by Namco. So I've always been fascinated by this game. This is actually the game that made me a fan of Ninja Theory, even though a lot of people started on Heavenly Sword, which I think that game is all right. It's visually interesting, but it's a little bit rough to play. But this was what was going to originally be a sequel to Heavenly Sword, but due to a lot of issues behind the scenes and with Sony, they weren't able to do a direct sequel. So this was the next best thing they wanted to develop. What's interesting, it was pitched as a CGI film and eventually turned into a video game project. And due to that, Andy Serkis was on board, famously known as Gollum and King Kong. So I'm a big fan of Andy Serkis's work. He's a very talented guy, so it's really fascinating to see him do a unique role in this. His voice work, his mocap, classic Andy Serkis here. He does a great job as usual. So if you're an Andy Serkis fan, you're going to really get a kick out of this. Heavily inspired by the novel Journey to the West. This is 150 years in the future of the actual world, even though it has a lot of fantasy elements to it. It feels very fantasy, but it does take place in the real world. Unreal Engine 3 here shines quite well. A little rough around the edges nowadays, but the character models are very convincing, well designed. Ninja Theory does a great job with the cinematics, the character development, voice performances, of course, Andy Serkis. But you really get engrossed in the story. Now, gameplay-wise, it's actually quite solid. Fun combat, nice feeling combos, cinematic finishers. The enemies are compelling enough. They're not exactly incredible enemies, but they get the job done. The main thing about the game is the Ico style, which, if you remember from PlayStation 2, type of tag-along gameplay, where it's basically a Beauty and the Beast scenario, where it's you and this girl, you're protecting her, getting her from point A to point B, and they actually did a very interesting plot twist to how they moved that along. Even just revisiting this, I was really enjoying getting back into it. I'm a big fan of Ico, so I appreciated that inspiration that they derived from that. And if you also like The Last of Us, there's a little bit of that in this as well. Big, bright, colorful environments. Like I said before, detailed and convincing character models. It's not distracting. You really get into their emotions. Although it does have a bit of a weird ending, so I'm not going to lie. Even though it has a really good story, I like it a lot. But the ending is a little different from what I remember. So don't expect a absolutely satisfying, wonderful ending. It's a little bit different, but it's absolutely worth playing through. So if you want something that's a little bit different, heavy on narrative and character development with some solid gameplay and pretty graphics, you can't go wrong with Enslaved. Like I said, I always really appreciated it. I feel that it's underappreciated, and at this point, it's a bit of a hidden gem. And through backwards compatibility, it doesn't have any absolutely fancy bells and whistles, no changed frame rates or anything like that, but it does look very nice. It is a more consistent frame rate. It plays and looks better than ever on Xbox Series X. So yeah, Enslaved Journey to the West. You should definitely check this out if you've never played it. And up next, we have an absolute personal favorite of mine, Metal Gear Solid Rising: Revengeance, developed by Platinum Games and released by Konami. I'm not going to bury the lead here. This game is phenomenal. This game is insane. I absolutely love it. It is the black sheep of the Metal Gear Solid games. It is insane because it was developed by Platinum Games, who are former Capcom devs headed by Shinji Mikami. And this is some of their absolute best work. If you like Bayonetta, if you like Devil May Cry, if you like Metal Gear Solid, you're not going to go wrong here. This is some of the best hack and slash action you'll ever see in a game. This is some S-tier work from Platinum Games, one of the best games they've ever made. Very entertaining and engaging story, geopolitical in nature with warmongers as the bad guys. This feels like a blockbuster action movie in the best way. Raiden is the best he's ever been in this game. If you thought Raiden was a little annoying in Metal Gear Solid 2, for example, even though I know that he gets really cool in Metal Gear Solid 4, but if you loved him in Metal Gear Solid 4 and you're like, man, I want a whole game dedicated to that, that's literally what they did here. The mechanics of this game are nuts. The real-time slicing and cutting mechanics in the fighting, anywhere from barrels to enemies to objects, you're able to cut them down to size in real time. Epic, insane boss battles, really cool soundtrack. It's super hype. The graphics look fantastic, and through backwards compatibility, it has a locked 60 frames per second, so it plays better than ever. Solid voice acting, which you would expect for the likes of Metal Gear Solid and Platinum Games. Fun dialogue. This game doesn't take itself too seriously. It's just enough of a balance where it's serious and action movie style, but at the same time, you can laugh at it a little bit. It has charming characters, tons of things to unlock and upgrade. It has a lot of replayability, alternate costumes, alternate weapons. I mean, this game just has all these amazing things going for it. It's actually crazy because they really don't make games like this anymore. Even Platinum Games don't really make games like this anymore. They've made a number of games like this since then, but man, there's just something about this game. They just hit the sweet spot with this one. So Metal Gear Solid Rising: Revengeance is one of my personal favorite Metal Gear Solid games, even though it is, like I said, it's a black sheep of the franchise. And yeah, some people expect a Metal Gear Solid when they see Metal Gear Solid, and this is not your traditional Metal Gear Solid by any means. I love it. I absolutely love this game. So if you want Devil May Cry, Bayonetta type of game set in the universe of Metal Gear Solid, you cannot go wrong here. And finally, we have Max Payne 3, developed and released by Rockstar. So recently I covered the first two Max Payne games through backwards compatibility on the original Xbox. Link in the description if you want to check that out. And I love those two games. Those are classics. Those were from Remedy. Those were from a different generation. They have a very different feel to them. The third one was a new generation console, Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. New engine, the proprietary Rockstar engine with its advanced physics engine. So the feel and look of this is quite a bit different from the other Max Paynes. This is more of Rockstar's take on Max Payne. So if you like the feel of Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5 and Red Dead Redemption, you're going to feel quite a bit at home here. But also, if you're a Max Payne fan from the originals, the bullet time here is better than ever, and you're also going to feel right at home. The story here is excellent. So I will say the visuals of the game are quite interesting. While at first it feels a little bit claustrophobic because that's kind of the point, because Max Payne is constantly drunk and he's got his problems and he's going through all the stuff he's going through and trying to find himself again. The game visually represents that all throughout cutscenes, throughout gameplay, with a lot of flashing and screen effects and things to make you kind of feel the way Max feels. While that takes some getting used to and it's different, that was a stylistic choice they made to make you kind of feel the way Max Payne feels, which is not a good feeling, but it is immersive nonetheless. But the gunplay here is absolutely AAA level stuff. The bullet time is excellent. The physics are insane. Because of that, all the gunfights feel organic. Hardly any gunfight plays out the same way twice. The dialogue, voice acting, story, I mean, everything here is AAA level stuff across the board. They did not phone this in just to make a third Max Payne. They put a lot of effort into this. While it may not be as celebrated as the first two, which I kind of get it, this is an excellent Max Payne game, and this is an excellent third-person shooter bullet time action game that really should be celebrated more than it has been. So if you love the character, you love third-person bullet time, you love Rockstar games, you like that engine, whatever the case, it's got all of that here and more. Max Payne as a franchise has always had a special place in my heart, and for me, the third one is really no different. Even though 2 is my personal favorite, 3 has always been an excellent game. I actually plan on beating it again through backwards compatibility because, once again, it doesn't have any game-changing boost modes for the frame rate, but the frame rate is more stable than ever, and it looks very sharp. So it plays better than it did on Xbox 360 through backwards compatibility on my Series X. And yeah, there's a lot of game here, a lot of ambition, I mean, you can see the money that was put into this game. They did not play around. They gave it the full Rockstar AAA treatment. So that was 5 Xbox 360 games that are better than ever through backwards compatibility. Whether it be the first time you're playing them, revisiting them, either way, you can't go wrong. These are 5 classic Xbox 360 games that you really need to check out. So I hope you liked the video. Please like it on your way out, and please subscribe if you haven't yet. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.